Namaste. Welcome to the first class in the preparatory class series at Vedika Gurukul. These classes are specially designed to introduce seekers to the art and science of Ayurvedic medicine. This is a medicine that has the potential of transforming our life to such an amazing extent that we actually need to prepare ourselves for the transformation. We came into this life kind of unprepared, did we not? Little did we know that very soon our young, fresh, youthful bodies will begin to complain and suffer, and in spite of our best intentions, begin to decay and crumble as early as our late 20s. 30s is lived in a state of denial. This could not be happening. 40s is a slow confirmation. 50s is a lonely realization that indeed we live in a very, very strange container. 60s and 70s is an era of regret. 80s and 90s is suffering. And if we live to 100, we now know that we would have lived differently. What is that difference that Ayurveda could have possibly shown us? And that in any age, in any body, in any country, we could possibly have utilized some of this eternal knowledge and changed the script of creeping unhappiness into a satisfied sense of accomplishment. Idam Devalaya. Long ago, when I was a young child, and my sister was more beautiful than me. She was also, at that time, taller. She was also sharper, as elder sisters are. She could open cans and bottles, and she could climb the tree and get the juiciest mango. I decided I was upset with my body. But my teacher, my grandfather, came to me and said, say this, Idam Devale. This is the home of the God that I am. Deva means God. Devale means the abode of God. Idam means this. And I think I cannot thank the presence of someone in my life who could convert my negativity into a positive appreciation. And such a person is called a teacher. So in this Gurukul, we celebrate the relationship between teacher and student. Teacher represents to the student's own highest self. With the teacher, student can make error, student can falter, student can make mistakes, student can beat themselves up. But the teacher's job is to constantly say, Idam Devale. Because once our perception of the body and the mind and the body-mind being changes, we learn to give priority to this, and then the science of Ayurveda gives us the resources to look after it, to really make it a temple. So here to my left, on the top is Lord Dhanvantari, the god of Ayurvedic medicine. my students here know the tales of his emergence to give us the nectar of this knowledge. There is no class that we can start without a prayer to him, because he represents that transcendental consciousness, the transcendent consciousness that is awaiting within us to emerge in the tussle between the dark and the light forces. And then there is Bade Baba, my great-grandfather. He was called Mahatma Shanti Prakash or Sant Shanti Prakash. Shanti Prakash, the light of peace, was his name. And Mahatma or Sant was the title that people around him gave him, because great souls in India are who? Not necessarily ones who have a big empire or a lot of money or a lot of children to prove their fertility, or a lot of power where they can exhibit their contacts, but people who have auspicious intentions for everyone around them. They are called Mahatma. So Bade Baba was a full Vaidya. He was very accomplished. All his life he gave free medicine to the people who came to him. And he was also a yogi. And he was a married man raising his son, raising his two sons. And at the same time, because of being a widower, it was kind of a good time to spend with the larger community. Raise his children as a single dad and take care of the large community around him with medicine, with advice. And then he started the Sadharan Dharma Sabha. Sadharan Dharma is actually illuminating for everyday people the conflict between duty, what we have to do, and ethics, right? Many times we have to do something and the ideal is saying something else, is there not? So in the ordinary course of events, what has to be resorted to in between is Sadharan Dharma, and that is what plagues all of us in the day-to-day. So he started this Sabha, under which, very much like Vedika Global, lot of community classes, low cost, or actually in his case it was all free medicine and advice, and the gatherings of great saints and teachers was taking place in this tiny town, Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh, northern India. So during his time, many students came to study with him from far and wide, and we had a large house, and many people lived there and are living till today. There, many generations removed. And it was a wonderful home that was spreading the wisdom and light of knowledge. His son, Ayodhya Nath Sinha, who I and all the students lovingly call Baba, is my personal teacher. And the lessons he taught me, my dear friends and students, are lessons I am still integrating and learning. Now many of the things that he taught me echo through me, and I understand their value. So in a Gurukul, teachers are like role models. These teachers are our role models. They are our Purvaj, our ancestors. And they have walked the path of wholeness. They have struggled in their own lives with loss, with disease, with disturbances, difficulties, perhaps lack at different times. But they have overcome. So our education is not without role modeling. Our education nowadays in this world is about peddling. Don't ask me whether I eat this product or not, but I will sure give you a discount if you buy this from me today in the next 30 minutes. This is what we have come down to. Our humanity has evolved itself to pressure sales of herbal products, supplements, and even plans to achieve nirvana or salvation. It was important to create a platform like Vedika to pause, first of all, to pause and stop the high-pitched fervor sale where people can come together and thank some ancestors, thank my ancestor, thank your ancestors, thank the collective teachers of this universe. Acknowledge that the wisdom is still around, breathe in it, and then start all over again. So you are sitting in a platform for preparatory classes for some transformative education that will begin next year, but has actually begun already. In a platform that has been created in response to the much needed, loving, gentle, unhurried, agenda-less, authentic education. Ultimately, ignorance is what causes us physical disorders, mental disorders, spiritual disorders. After your bout of physical illness, you realize, if I had only known better and not eaten this rotten food, stale food, fast food, old food, unpleasant looking food, spicy food, smelly food, and alien looking food. If I didn't have this ignorance or this ignorance or this ignorance, I would be sitting in my lotus. Ignorance. Mental afflictions. After a particularly painful relationship, distraught, afflicted, tormented, turbulent emotional states, confused, lost, bewildered, self-sabotaging, destructive, and then the realization, I was ignorant. I need not chase anyone. I am where I am. I am like the lily, and my aroma should attract the bees. Lily doesn't have to transplant itself to run after the bees. Ignorance has been shed, illumination is there, peaceful. Spiritual affliction, attachment, reactivity, following some kind of goal, and if one moment of distraction from what we are doing outside, emptiness, connectedlessness, deep depression, persistent question, who am I and what the hell am I doing here? And then again an escape into doingness, doingness, doingness. And then few minutes before sleeping, complete disconnection. The soul is sobbing, purposeless, doubting everything, doubting love, doubting self, doubting God, doubting Guru, doubting science, doubting the neighbor, doubting the government, doubting genuineness, doubting worthiness. Soul is tormented. And then our teacher comes and says, don't do anything. You can't fix this rationally. Don't employ the mind. Breathe. Watch the sunset, everything will make sense. Ignorance is shed, knowledge is had. So ultimately, education. Education to lovingly look after the body. Education to understand that the mind is a tool, not our boss. Education to understand that the soul has come here to play and have fun. And not to suffer and get caught up and try to prove a point. Education. Vidya. Only Vidya can destroy the three types of suffering. Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik and Adhyatmik. So this platform Vedika has called you for a series of preparatory classes. Why? All my life at least, I have felt like I am preparing. Have you? But have been disappointed. Because no matter how much preparation I do, I am unprepared for the cards that life deals us. But what about preparation to go within? What about preparation to agree, to no longer try to figure out something out there, but to figure out the self, which includes the physical self, the energy self, the mind self, the intellectual self, the karmic self, and then the self. Complete. The God self. When I was really young, I had a fantasy. My fantasy was not of dolls and was not of chocolates, occasionally. But I had this persistent fantasy that I'm sharing for the first time at Vedika. I used to love Abhijitji books, These books were usually, in our case as children, we always got religious books. Always moral books. Always tales, dharmic tales from our history. The stories of the gods, the avatars, the kings, the legendary queens, the heroic people, the great saints, the great sadhus, So we used to love them, but we used to run out of them. We used to try to kind of borrow them from the friend, but they took it back also. I tried reading Baba's books and even kind of drew on them sometimes. But I couldn't understand them a lot because Baba was an avid scholar in Sanskrit. I had taken to reading even any kind of labels. Yeah, really. Anything with a label, I would try to read it. So, this is only a 7-8-year-old. I imagined a huge book that contained everything I ever wanted to know. And it would give me relief. And then I saw that this book was getting bigger and bigger than me. And I didn't really have a concept of Earth and the planetary system at that time. But the question of the day was, where will I keep it? There was a slight anxiety around that. Do you have those childhood concerns? Do you understand where I'm coming from? Now I realize that the book that I was trying to create was a book of knowledge. And I was hungry for knowledge. I was hungry to understand myself. And to tell you the truth, in great humbleness I can say that this was answered by Ayurveda. All my questions are answered by this knowledge. It is so complete, so whole, I don't know where to keep it. That is why I am now sharing it with all of you. And my students are keeping pieces of it in their home. And I hope you will help out with the book. The rest of you. So this is an introduction to why I am talking to you and why